You might notice that I tend to cover specific things on my YouTube channel and on the ground because they are things that I care about. They are things that I find interesting. And it may be surprising to many people because I always hear Tim, you've changed. What happened? I cover the same thing I've always covered. Nothing has changed. Now, when I worked at Vice, I was doing a lot more international stuff. I still do international stuff. I was in London, I was in Korea, I've flown all about the world in the past year. I just traveled a lot more with Vice because they focus more on certain areas of the world, like I was in Egypt and Brazil. So, going through all of my videos, you'll see that there is kind of a thread that I follow. I'm very critical of the far left, and I've talked about why, and I'll get into it more of that in this video. But what people don't seem to realize is that, during Occupy, when I worked at Vice and Fusion, I wasn't making a video every single day. So now they're looking at my videos and they're going, oh my god, look, Tim changed, he's producing all these videos, and it's like, no, this is the exact same thing I talked about in my live streams. So today, we're gonna talk about propaganda. And what propaganda is, because I got my good friend Mike Stuchberry here. Actually, I think Mike Stuchberry is a pretty alright guy. I'm pretty upset with him for putting out a bunch of misinformation right now. I don't think he's that bad. Like I said, I think he's an alright guy. But I'm gonna criticize him right now for a lot of things he said that are totally wrong. He didn't do his research, he asserted facts, he's wrong. Now, if you're not familiar with Mike Stuchberry, he is a historian, teacher, he's he's a left guy, he's on the left. He's usually critical of Sargon and Dankula and things like that. He's like an Antifa guy, but he is willing to have conversations, and although he gets things wrong, and I'm gonna call him out for this, I don't think he's that bad. We've had some pretty good conversations, and I act in good faith. I'm not trying to, lie or trick somebody. There's no point in wasting anybody's time. So, today, he tweeted this. Actually, I'll go back a little bit. He tweeted about Adam Waffen, and he was like, why aren't people on the right criticizing them? Well, I'm not on the right, but what I said for me was that I cover mainstream politics, okay? I go on the ground when Trump supporters, and Hillary supporters, and Bernie supporters are out doing their thing. I was at Bernie rallies, I was at Hillary rallies, I was at Trump rallies, because I don't care about fringe extremism. It's not that relevant for the most part. Now, there are journalists who cover terrorism and extremism. By all means, that's a good beat. Do your thing. I don't do that. I do more mainstream stuff. So when I go to a Trump rally and somebody gets bashed in the back of the head, that's shocking. When I go to a free speech rally with run-of-the-mill conservatives, some liberals, say Berkeley, and someone gets bashed over there with a bike lock, people are throwing explosives, I'm going to call out Antifa. Basically, if I go to a regular Trump supporter event and far left people show up and get violent, then I'm going to call out the violence. I don't go to Antifa events. I don't look up what Antifa is doing. I don't show up to their events. When Antifa did like an MMA training in the UK, I didn't go to it. I don't go to communist events, and I don't go to fascist events. You want to know why I'm not, ranting and raving about the tiny minority, the ridiculous minority of white supremacists in the US? Because I just don't think they're that relevant. There are acts of terror, for sure. Adam Waffen does seem like a crazy group of people. Don't cover that stuff. I cover mainstream stuff. So if Adam Waffen shows up to a Hillary rally and starts bashing people over the head, yeah, I'm going to make a ton of videos about that. So long as far left individuals get violent and cause problems, there you go. I'm going to call it out. But let's talk about some of the misinformation that is facilitated among the left by people of certain influence like Mike Stuchberry. He tweeted, "You promote a right-wing agenda through hundreds of videos that criticize the left, amplify voices from the right, attack activists, push conspiracy theories, and inflame tensions regarding some sort of impending civil war. It's okay to be a polemicist, dude, just to be honest." A polemicist is somebody who engages in controversial debate. That's kind of an opinion. By all means, if he thinks I'm a polemicist, you're allowed to do it. I don't think I engage in controversial debate, though. I engage in more mainstream debate, and my opinions are usually based on mainstream sources. Even when I'm critical of the Washington Post, I still use them. Even when I'm critical of the Huffington Post, I still use them. You might notice I cite the Huffington Post, and I almost never use Breitbart. Isn't that a little weird to somebody who's pushing a right-wing agenda, that I'm more willing to use Washington Post and Huffington Post, but not Breitbart, and certainly not InfoWars? So there's a problem with this rhetoric. And it gets pretty good. So here's what I responded. I said, what conspiracy theories? Criticizing the left doesn't promote anything. Attacking activists, like who? My content actually leaned in favor of the J20 activists. If you watch my videos, you would have heard me say, and you probably got pissed off if you're on the right, You may have heard me say that I'm mostly glad that the J20 activists were acquitted of the crime because I don't agree with a mass arrest. I don't agree with blanketing everybody with conspiracy charges. And even when I covered the J20 trials, I was very critical of the prosecution's targeting of journalists, even if they're mean, nasty people who are yelling at the cops. Still, the police should know better. So what? Am I attacking them? No, that's wrong too. And I said, if you can't accept your faults, you will lose. And here's what I always say. You want to know why I criticize the left? I tweeted this out. Because I am on the left. I am a social liberal. I'm not a classical liberal. I'm a social liberal. That means I'm aligned I'm almost on, Bernie Sanders area. I liked him way more than Hillary. But I think the social policy and high taxation gets a little too far for me. Social liberal, what can I say? So when I call out the far left for being crazy, it has nothing to do with the far right. I am not threatened by the far right. The far right is, it's like people hype up what they really are. There's not that many of them. Sure, they do bad things. I don't think they're that relevant. I'm more concerned with fringe Antifa types, far left types, who go around bashing people over the head and make liberals look bad. I'm concerned with people who are doing #walkaway, who are equating the far left with liberalism. No, man. There are a lot of people who are social liberals, not classical liberals, right? I'm to the left of a classical liberal. They're on the left, who think they're conservative or would actually walk away from this stuff because of the crazies who aren't being called out. Simply because I have a problem with them does not mean that I'm promoting the right. That's absurd. But here's where it gets good. Mike Stutchbury responded with this photo, one of my videos, and it says, 2 shooters in Florida, ? Witness statement draws controversy. Is he implying that this video is a conspiracy theory? First of all, the title doesn't assert anything. The title is simply letting you know what I'm talking about. This woman in the photo claimed to have heard a shooter while she was with the Florida shooter, creating this idea that there were 2 shooters. There was another witness who said multiple shooters. So, witness statement draws controversy. It absolutely did. The mainstream media covered this statement, so I decided to look at it and debunk it. Literally, Mike Stutchbury pulled up a video of me debunking a conspiracy to assert that I somehow was pushing a conspiracy. In the video I said, people don't know what gunshots sound like. When gunshots go off, many people ask if they're fireworks. If someone thinks there are gunshots, then they think everything is a gunshot. So maybe she heard a door slam and thought it was a gunshot. You don't know, maybe someone dropped a book. Additionally, one of the other witnesses claimed that the shooter was shot and killed. And he wasn't. So this witness was wrong. In which case, we have no real credible evidence that there was another shooter in Florida. And that's the point of the video I made, debunking these conspiracy theories. Essentially, look, if I don't have evidence, I won't say it's true. I'm not going to say there weren't 2 shooters. I'm going to say, in my opinion, it is very unlikely to be the case, and here's why I think so. And he's actually using that as an example of me pushing conspiracies. So I responded with, did you watch it? And then he did! And he said, okay, fair call, Tim. I'm not going to sift through hours. I have to give it to you, urging calm. Maybe you could tell Prison Planet. I've said that! I made a video like a week ago where I said I think Prison Planet, pushes too far to the right. I made a video after Sweden where I said I'm not the biggest fan of Paul Joseph Watson. I don't think he's wrong. I think he's just hyper-partisan, and that's fine. I look at what he does, and I look at what people on the far left do, and I get it. It is what it is. They're people who have political ideologies, and they push things that are in their political space. I don't hold it against them. I only hold it against them when they claim to be journalists pushing fact, and they lie. I don't think Paul Joseph Watson actively lies. I just think he's partisan, and that's okay. He can do his thing. It works for him. He said, that said, there's hours of World War III is coming. The left are planning horrible things wackadoo that wouldn't be out of place on N4s. That's not true. The video I made about the Second Civil War, if you've watched it, is in response to politicians and the mainstream media talking about it. I don't just decide to randomly come up and go, oh, they're coming for your income tax, people. There's Civil War on July 4th. I don't do it. When Splinter made an article that said things should get more extreme, I called that out. I even said in every video I've done that I may be a part of the problem simply by talking about it. I do think we are facing some kind of escalation in political conflict, and I don't think that's unfair. We just saw street battles in Portland. It's not stopping. We saw a guy in Texas try to blow up a statue. It happened in the past, it's happening now, and it may or may not lead to something. And as of today, I personally feel like we're slightly leaning towards things getting really, really bad. It's not coming from me just making things up. It's coming from me watching mainstream news, okay? When politicians and mainstream outlets say, this is what we are facing. When, I think it was New York Mag put out a piece where they said security experts are saying there's a high probability of real civil conflict, that's not me being like a fringe conspiracy theorist. It's me going, oh my God, when New York Magazine publishes something like this, maybe we should pay attention. But this guy doesn't live in the US, so I'll give him that one. I even said, I have a podcast where we discuss the idea of civil war based on the rhetoric from many news outlets and statements from a US politician. I also have commentary on Splinter's technically call for extremism. He said, you do understand that repeating and amplifying that stuff is never going to work out well, right? And I said, that's a good point. I say that in every video about civil war. I also recognize my own fault in saying the same things, but there's only so much you can do when the national conversation is around this. Everything I do in my content is an attempt to kind of pull people away from the fringe sides. It's not necessarily my intention. I'm not actively trying to be like, you shouldn't be far left, you shouldn't be far right. More so, I'm critical of the fringe extremes and trying to find something reasonable. A lot of people, like, you know, I'll criticize Paul Joseph Watson because he will jump on the right-wing narrative right away. Not necessarily right-wing, it's more of like the anti-establishment narrative very quickly. And I'll say, well, hold on, there could be an explanation for this that's a bit more rational or a bit more closer to the middle. You can be on whatever side you want. I got no problem with that, as long as you aren't pretending to lie. And I don't think, you know, there's a lot of people who are alternative who I don't think lie. And there are a lot of really great journalists who I don't think lie. For right now, I'll just, off the top of my head, Rosie Gray, who I believe is at The Atlantic, has always been a really great journalist. Jake Hanrahan, who I believe is also a really great journalist, and he does cover the far right. So there's good people and bad people on all sides, and you know, I get it. But let's hop over to okay, so this is the one I just did. Let's hop over to another statement from Mike. I shouldn't go too long on this because there's so much that he said, but I do have a couple things to point out. So I'm not gonna do this one because he brought up some stuff with Sweden. Paul Joseph Watson tweeted, I donated to a project that Tim already had running. Fact. I had already made a GoFundMe and a video talking about Sweden. When Paul Joseph Watson tweeted he challenged a journalist to go do this whatever, I DM'd him and said, I'll do it. And then he donated to my campaign. He said that project would have happened with or without my money. Fact. We were already planning on doing it. I already had produced and edited a video saying this is what we are going to do. He had nothing to do with it. You'd know this, Mike, if you'd have read more widely than a biased mainstream media reports about what happened. Now, I think it's fair for Paul to criticize Mike's viewing of certain media, but what's unfair is the mainstream media actually got the story right. Even the far left media got the story right, so I don't know what Mike was reading. He must have been reading the tweets of activists who didn't know what they were talking about. Because even Salon got the story right, saying I was a liberal journalist who accepted InfoWars challenge and went to Sweden. If Salon can get that right, you're reading something wrong, Mike. I said, you're lying, Mike. And you know what, I will say right now, I shouldn't have said he was lying because it's possible he's just wrong. There's a difference, lying is willful. I raised $22,000 for the Sweden trip. Paul Joseph Watson donated about 9% of the total, and my largest donor was Swedish. And he said, still a substantial donor, dude, but geez, you're doing some fantastic distracting. Are you kidding me? I brought up, look at this, Salon said, this is what blows my mind. If you want to accuse me of working with InfoWars and taking money from Paul Joseph Watson, are you actively trying to discredit my work, which the far left said proved them wrong? I really don't understand this. I went to Sweden, I went to Malmö, I went to Gothenburg, I went to Stockholm, and almost in every instance, we found no evidence of what the far right had been saying and what many right-wing personalities had been saying. There was crime. Crime had gone up. It wasn't that bad. You know, relative to Sweden, they were worried about it. And so the left and like Mashable did a really good piece on it, getting all the facts straight, even saying that it's a complicated picture, crime is going up, so to Swedes, it is a big issue they talk about, but to Americans, it's not that much crime. And I don't understand. What I reported is more favorable to the left than to the right. Now, the one thing that did end up working out in the right's favor was when I got escorted out of Rinkeby. And I believe Mike brought that up. I said, I welcome you to point out anything intentionally misleading in my content. Well, Mike said, there was that time you told everyone that you had to have a police escort out of Rinkeby, only to have the police respond claiming there was no such escort and you just tagged along behind. Womp. Wrong. I didn't walk behind the police. So I wonder, Mike, what are you reading? Because even the mainstream news got this one right. Not in Sweden, of course. In my video, I'll pull this video up and show you. The police are behind me, okay? So I'm walking out. The police are following me and Emily. I did not follow them. Was it just my psychic ability that I knew the police were going to, at that time, drive to my own car? This is what really blows my mind about this rhetoric from the police in Sweden and the far left, that I followed the police. There's a video of the police following me to my car. Was that just a random chance that the police followed me to my car? Or is it possible that we went to an area that even mainstream press in Sweden said could be dangerous, where there's videos of journalists being attacked, and then I actually have a video where you can see the police follow me out to my car, and then I don't know if we have the footage exactly, but as we're driving out, you can see the police are waiting for us. My God. So what is Mike reading? This really blows my mind. The police followed us all the way to the parking lot where our car was, about 2 blocks away. My God, this is what really pisses me off, because you've got the mainstream Swedish press saying it never happened. The police are lying about it, and I have a goddamn video where the police not only follow me to my car, they wait in the parking lot as we leave. Sure, complete coincidence that the police said to me, I asked the police, do you think you should follow us out? And they said yes. And then the police were pointed a different direction, and they actually waved and turned their car and followed me out. You know what? Don't take my word for it. You call me a liar, that's fine. But one thing you have to take in consideration is the police said I followed them. I published a video after that where they're following me, and there you go. The police were wrong. So I'd like to know if Mike is actually doing the research, or is it possible that Mike believes what he does because he's just hearing it from his own circle and not actually watching the videos. Mike said in the first go that this video, I say he's implying this video is promoting a conspiracy. I said, Mike, you literally took a video of me debunking a conspiracy theory to try and claim I push conspiracies. Maybe the problem with everybody is that they don't watch anything. They don't read the news, they just hear it from their friends and they assume it's true. So I guess I will end this video, because I've been going on for a while, with one simple thing. I don't think Mike is actually that bad. I think he's actually, he's pretty good when it comes to a lot of the stuff. And I actually do respect a lot of his knowledge on the far left and Antifa. I've actually used him as a point of reference when talking about issues on the far left. In this instance, he is dead wrong. So the only thing I can say is, I think Mike is one of the good ones, and you might not like him, but he is willing to engage in conversation with Dankula and Sargon. He did an interview with Sargon. I think he's wrong on a lot of issues, but he's one of the good ones. And as long, you can believe whatever you want to believe, okay? I'll correct you if you're wrong. And by all means, I even said to him, I don't think I'm right all the time. By all means, call me an idiot. But to imply that I'm willfully pushing an ideology is absolutely incorrect. So with this, here's what I'll say. Please don't at people. What that means is don't go on Twitter and start yelling at Mike, because I actually still respect a lot of what Mike does, and will continue the conversation with him on many issues that I think he is correct about. In this instance, he's wrong. And I don't like it when people push misinformation about me, so there it is. Mike, if you're watching this, you are incorrect. Hopefully what I've presented to you explains a lot of my positions, and hopefully this video I've published that actually shows the police follow me to the parking lot where my car is and then wait there as we drive out is enough evidence, at least a little bit of evidence, to suggest I might actually be telling the truth. Thanks for hanging out for 20 minutes. Stay tuned. I'll have another video up in about 10 minutes or so.